Hello there and welcome. Today we're going to continue working on the trivia series. Now we have our main game, we have the main menu, we have the game over screen, but we still have no connection to the outside world. Because if we want to go to the leaderboard screen and display all the scores for the different users, we need to be able to save this data online, and then each device will be able to send its own score and basically retrieve all the scores of the other players and display it over here in the high score screen. So if we go back to this diagram, we can see that we basically want to send data to the online database and then get the data and display it in the leaderboards scene. So at this point, let's also mark this. We have this completed, we have this completed, and we also have this completed. We still don't have both of these scenes and we don't have this connection to the database. So in this episode, we're going to set up our database, we're going to create an account, and we're going to see how to actually start sending and receiving data. For a database, we are going to use Firebase. So this is a very popular platform that provides different services like authentication, databases, even real-time databases, and it provides you analytics and a few more tools. And it's usually used a lot for mobile games, although it can also be used for other projects. Now, of course, you don't have to use Firebase. You can use your own custom server. I'm also going to create a tutorial series about creating our own custom server. So it will be a bit more advanced, but if you want to know how to do it and learn a few more things, you can check out this series. When the series is going to be out, I'm going to add it in a link in the description, but you really don't have to create your own server. You can simply use Firebase like we are going to use. Firebase, it's basically free as long as you don't cross some kind of limit. So if you really want to create an app and have millions of users, then at some point you will have to pay depending on the traffic that you're going to have in your game. So when you cross a certain limit, it's going to cost you money, but don't worry. If you just do it for yourself, for a project, or even if you have a small amount of users, you're not going to reach the limit. And of course, you can see if you reached it inside of Firebase. So I'm going to show you where you can see it. So you can find the link in the description to Firebase. Usually it uses your Google account to connect, so you can simply log in using your Google account, and then you simply click over here, go to console, and this will bring you to the panel where you create a new project. I have a few projects already created. This is from the testing that I did for this tutorial series, so we're not going to use this one. We're going to create a new project. So we're simply going to click over here, and then we're going to give a name to our project. So we're going to name it Trivia Master or whatever you want to call your game. And we're going to click on continue. And this will ask us to use analytics, but we don't want to. Of course, you can use it if you want. So I'm just going to disable this. And I'm going to create a new project. Now it's ready. We're going to click on continue. And we're going to see the dashboard for our project. So if we click over here on the side, we can see different services that Firebase is providing. We are interested in the Firestore database. There is also a real-time database, but it's not really relevant for our game. This is relevant for fast reading and writing. So if you really want to see the changes in real time, then you can use the real-time database. We're simply going to send some scores and then we're going to fetch all the scores. So we don't need real-time for this. We need the Firestore database. So we're simply going to click on the Firestore database and we're going to click on create database. Over here, we simply need to select the area that is closest to you. I'm going to use Europe. You can select whatever suits you. And then we're simply going to click on next. And over here, we need to set the rules. We want to start in test mode, so everything will be much easier for us. So we're going to select this and then create. And now we have our database ready. Of course, the database is empty, but when we add new objects, it's going to appear over here and we're going to be able to always come back here and see it. Now, if after a while you get some kind of mail or warning that your rules are no longer valid, this is just because the first initial time for these rules has expired. You can simply go to rules over here and you can see that at this point the rules are set until this date, and it basically means that you can read and write until this date. So if you reach this date and you basically can't use the database anymore, you can simply increase it to something very high, or you can actually set your production rules. So you set it over here and you can actually get all of this information inside the docs, inside the documentation. But for now, we're going to leave it as it is. Now, although we added Firestore into the project, it is still not connected to our actual Unity project. So we need to make this happen. Over here, we're going to click on Unity because we're not building to something else. Although we are building to a mobile phone, right? And we're building to Android, we still are not using the Android Studio or some kind of Android SDK. We're using the Unity one. So we're going to click on Unity and we need to input all of this data. We don't want to create an Apple app. Maybe you want to, but we're going to focus on the Android app. We're going to click over here and then we need to add the package name and give it a nickname. We're going to name it Trivia Master. And to get this thing, we need to go back into our Unity project. Inside the Unity project, we go to project settings, edit project settings. Over here, we click on Android. Maybe this will be selected, but we're building to Android. So we're going to select the Android tab and we're going to scroll down to other settings. And at the bottom, we can see identification, and this will be the package name. Of course, this is a very generic and long name that comes when you start a new project, so you should change it to something that is more suitable. Usually the format is COM, and over here you input the name of your company, and over here you simply input the name of the project. So we're going to say Trivia Master. And over here, you can leave it as it is, or even if you don't have a company, just give it your name so everyone will know that you developed this app. Okay, so this is usually the format that we use in Android applications. So we're going to copy this thing and we're going to open Firebase again and we're going to paste it over here. So now we can register the app and it's going to ask us to download the JSON file to actually connect and send all of these settings into our Unity project. So we're going to click over here and download this JSON file. This is a simple file that we're going to drag into our Unity project. Inside our Unity project, we're going to create a folder in our main assets folder. We're going to name it plugins. We're going to create another folder inside and we're going to name it Android, and we're going to drag this JSON file into this folder. So when the game launches, it will go into this folder and it will find this file, and then it will know how to set up the connection between Firebase and your app. The next thing we need to do is download the SDK that will connect Unity and Google, and we're going to be able to use all the different services that Google has to offer. And I'm saying Google because Firebase is a part of Google. So in order to download this SDK, we go back to the Firebase app and we click on Next. And it tells us over here, add Firebase SDK. So we simply need to download this. And this will be a very large file. It will be about 1 gigabyte because it contains a few more libraries for different services. For example, for the analytics, for the real-time database, for authentication. We don't need all of these packages. We only need the package for Firestore so we can connect our application to Firestore. Now we don't need to wait over here. We can simply click on next and we can go to the documentation, although we don't need to do this. So we simply continue to console. Now, when this package is going to download, we're going to unzip it. So inside the folder it was downloaded, we're simply going to extract it. And inside we can see a bunch of files, but we don't need all of them. As I told you, they are required for different connections, for example, for the authentication or for analytics, for Crashalytics. We are interested in the Firebase Firestore. Now, don't get confused. You can also find Firebase database, but this is related to the real-time database. We simply want to take this Firebase Firestore package and drag it into our project. So we drag it over here to the assets folder. It will ask you to import it, so you simply click on import. Now you're going to get a bunch of errors, just clear the console, and if we get a few more errors along the way, I'm going to show you how to fix them. So now we have this entire package in our game. We can find it over here, Firebase, and we have different folders, different files. So now our project is basically connected to Firebase and we can start sending data. But of course, we still need the code that will connect to the Firestore database, to the exact database that we're interested in, because we can have multiple databases, and then we're going to send a score from the game over screen, and we also want to get the data inside our leaderboards screen. So we are going to do all of this in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. Please leave a like if this was helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.